offsets cannot solve this problem. And when people say they're going to be net zero and they're going to get there by using offsets, it is greenwashing.
Now, still looking at the long term here, you've made a few big bets around sustainability as well in the last 1 year or so. And just to share with us, what's the approach towards sustainability for United, and why such strong bets rather than just sort of towing the line and checking the boxes?
So this is a personal passion of mine, and I have been frustrated for decades at corporations, not just aviation. Aviation is guilty as well. Essentially papering over the problem, and it's a big problem. It is the defining issue for our generation to resolve. And the problem with climate change is it's not just that we get more extreme weather events and it gets hotter. There are some tipping points that if you pass the tipping point, it leads to catastrophic changes that could make Europe uninhabitable. If the Gulf Stream switches back to going straight across the Atlantic Ocean to North Africa instead of warming Europe. Look at how far north London, Paris are. They're way warmer than they would be because of the Gulf Stream. Anyway, before I completely geek out on that, there's some catastrophic changes that are potential. And so we have to solve it. But what corporate America has done to date is using a fig leaf to pretend that they're solving the problem and washing their hands. And what I mean by that is they've used offsets. And offsets cannot solve this problem. And when people say they're going to be net zero and they're going to get there by using offsets, it is greenwashing, and it is avoiding the solution to the problem. So United made a commitment to be 100% green, which means we're not going to use offsets, and we're going to get there through two big areas. One is sustainable aviation fuels. We represent 50% of the world's sustainable aviation fuels, and we can talk in a lot more detail. It's going to require a lot of investment, a lot of R&D, and a lot of support to make that grow to a level that it can be significant. But the other one is sequestration, and there's an increasing number of people. I was pleased to see Bill Gates in his latest book talks about sequestration. If you talk to people that know about climate in the administration, they talk about sequestration. That's where we're going. And the reason is because the reason offsets can't work, by the way, is we emit 4,000 times as much carbon as we did in the pre-industrial era. Offsets are basically planting trees. You cannot plant 4,000 times as many trees. There's simply not room on the planet. So we're going to have to find ways to use sequestration. And what we're trying to do is not just make a difference at United. We are trying to do that. But we have a brand and a presence and a high profile that we can start to change the conversation. And I think we're having success with that. And the truth is, I think that may be the biggest legacy, and I hope actually it is, that I leave behind someday when I retire, is that we had a role in changing the conversation to get to real solutions instead of these pretend solutions that may be good for marketing but are not going to change the world. And so we're trying to invest in sustainable fuels, direct air capture, electric aircraft, to drive down the cost curve and view this more as R&D, as opposed to we're going to just buy the sustainable fuel tomorrow, because it's not economic. None of those are economic today, but we need them to become economic, and that's the reason we wanted to invest.
I am curious. You've got this green liner flying around the world, I believe, on biofuels. Has the sustainability agenda increased in priority through the pandemic or decreased in, and what's Etihad's approach to the sustainability conundrum that faces aviation?
I think this is a key question industry-wide, because we're very proud that, as well as the green liner, and you'll notice I said the green liner as opposed to the Etihad green liner, we launched that aircraft in 2019. And it's in partnership with Boeing, with GE, with ADNOC, the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, and many other key participants. It's a persona, the green liner. It's a flying test bed. We use it to attract all opportunities to improve sustainable performance within aviation. But we've actually got a second aircraft. We introduced at the back end of 2020 the Eco Demonstrator, which is another 787. And this one's in partnership as well with Boeing, with Safran, and also NASA. And I always say that slowly because people say maybe he's spelt or represented it. No, I am talking about the North American Space Agency. And I guess that's an illustration of the extent that we're going to acknowledge a number of things. First of all, there's no copyright on bright ideas. They come big and small and from anywhere and everywhere. What we're trying to do with these particular go-to places is present flying test beds that demonstrate what we can do to continue to get better at getting better. So we do, as I think you were alluding to, hold the world record at the moment for long-range flying with sustainable aviation fuels. We're doing work on e-fuels, hydrogen fuels with the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company and Shell. We've done a number of eco-demonstrator flights working with Eurocontrol on air navigation to be able to optimize continuous descents. And it's about the combination of all of those things. And I guess the conclusion I would suggest is as follows. The one thing I'll stick my neck out on and say is, we know the COVID pandemic will end. We just don't know when, right? The one thing that won't end in aviation is the ever-growing need to get more sustainable, and that will be the primary differentiator going forward. What we've tried to do during the pandemic is actually push on with that sustainability agenda in acknowledgement of the fact that the pandemic will be history at some stage. This will actually shape history for aviation. And the Eco Demonstrator last year for us was a big commitment into the furtherance of that agenda. And for me, it's not about Etihad, it's not about any of the other partners I've just mentioned. In terms of eliminating, single-use plastics, many of the things that are in the detail of things that we carry on board where we're taking weight out of, we've got SMEs involved in this from all around the world. And I think we can make this a lot more fun as well with the broader aviation community. And finally, you started with the Greenliner. We're very proud that aircraft will fly for the whole of this year, carbon offset, because we bought into a forestry program in Tanzania to be able to offset the carbon from the Greenliner, so it's carbon neutral for this year. And I'm jumping around to things like sustainable investment. We did the world's first sustainable green sukuk, which is a financial instrument. And again, I think it comes in all shapes and sizes, and now's the time not to be overly diverted and distracted by the pandemic, and make sure we all stay focused on sustainability.